It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And we're back with your Real Estate Breakfast, covering the latest Australian housing market, now streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And from Hamilton Island to Canberra, there's a nice split, and across all of the regional markets around the country as well. And remember that we have no listings that we're trying to sell you. There are no sales pitches here, just the property information that you want, with Australia's independent voice on all things real estate. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. We are back and landed onto another Monday, April the 13th. Now, a major compliance crackdown in Sydney has resulted in high-profile real estate agent Josh Tesolin being banned from the industry for 10 years following a lengthy investigation. Now, the case highlights how seriously regulators are now treating conduct around pricing, transparency, and auction practices across the property market. The findings centred on widespread underquoting, where properties were marketed below realistic sales prices, along with allegations of dummy bidding and misleading documentation. Now, this raises broader questions about trust in the sales process and whether tighter oversight is needed across the entire industry. This will make people in the industry think twice before engaging in this sort of activity. It is not isolated, but it sure as eggs is going to rein in some people who were operating in this space. Being banned for 10 years, that is scary for top performing agents who know that there is no other industry that they can automatically step into to make the vast amounts of commissions that they can annually. So, yeah, it is going to change behaviour, or will it? That's a good question to ask. Let's go to Melbourne and catch up with James Rankin. He is a buyer's agent operating there and the founder of Tomii Buyers Agents. And welcome on to the Real Estate Breakfast, James. This is all pretty interesting stuff. New South Wales fair trading have definitely come down hard here.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. It certainly is. Like, in terms of the overall industry, like, I think a lot of people are looking at this as a moment to take a look at themselves. Are they doing the right things? Are they compliant? But then also just bringing an awareness to something that is pretty well known as well and pretty common, unfortunately.
Yeah, hitting somebody in their wallet, because effectively that is what they have done. 10 years, you cannot operate in the real estate industry selling homes. As I say, very hard to replicate that kind of money. And if you get caught, you could end up with 10 years out of the industry. That does send a clear message. Got to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it'll be interesting to see if people do, because there's two sides to it, right? Like, there's the ethical side and the unethical side. Those cowboys will probably continue to operate. Like, every few years, there'll be a big case like this. Like, there was one in Victoria a couple of years ago where they were doing very similar practices. Just in terms of the fear factor, yes, it'll have a little bit of an effect, but yeah, it'll wash off in a couple of years, maybe a couple of months, which is unfortunate. And it's just unfortunate for not only vendors, like people selling property, but then the people that are trying to buy property as well. Like, they're wasting their time, especially from the underquoting side of things. They're just wasting their time going to open homes because these people don't buy property every day. Like, they have no idea what they're walking into. They think that the quoted range is a legitimate range and it sells for 20, 30, 40% over that top end of the range. And then they're just gobsmacked. And then they have to start the whole process again. They probably spent money on building and pest inspections, brought the whole family along, and then, turn up on auction day just to miss out.
And if you are one of those people, if you were going from property to property to property, and as James says, you're spending all this money, building inspections, pest, etc., you would have been out for thousands of dollars. Let us know if you've kind of been caught up in this. The email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Tell you, the other thing that just sort of comes to mind here, just talking about the vendors, I wonder if there's going to be any action taken collectively from vendors saying, right, let's see if we can claw back some of our money here. That could be pretty interesting.
They got results. Like, I think they were in pretty good selling territory for the last few years. So there would be a number of people that got a good outcome, I guess, from what he was doing. But there was, I guess, deceitful ways he was increasing his commission for sure. Like, there'll be probably some people that start to chase lawsuits or start to put lawsuits together around his activity in that vein, because that's one of the main things. And there's not too much detail on what he was doing, but essentially it was a way that he could increase his commissions by a significant amount. I think the number in the main article was like $420,000 in a week. That's how much he increased his commissions to.
That's the area that I'm talking about, where they could possibly go after that money. I mean, for somebody like me, obviously you're dealing in the industry, but I mean, I've been a real estate investor for a long, long time. I hadn't actually heard of that ability to increase the amount of commission, particularly when you got to the funnel end. So it's all pretty interesting stuff at the moment. And I think there's still more details to come. As we say, the New South Wales Fair Trading, they went after a big fish. They wanted to make an example out of somebody doing this. They've done it. It's going to clean up some of these bad actors. Regulators have made it clear that this outcome is designed to send the message, a strong message, that misleading buyers in high-value transactions, it's simply not going to be tolerated. And with properties often being the biggest financial decisions that people are making, maintaining confidence is how homes are marketed and sold, which is critical in the space that you operate in.
Yeah, just going back to your statement around that vendor trying to claw back some of the money. From what I know, they go in and they quote a property. They'll say, it's going to sell for $800,000, and they pretty much will condition the vendor into agreeing to an amount that they know is well below what it's going to end up selling for. So they'll say, cool, are you happy to sign things off at $800,000? They might go into it and say, you know what, it's not performing that well. We might only think it's going to get $750,000, and then they get them to re-sign off all of the authorities. And then what they do is anything over $750,000, they'll say, we'll split with you 50-50. So if we achieve a really good result, any money, so if we get, say, the $800,000 again, we'll split our commission 50-50 with you on that. And the vendor ends up being in agreement to that because they're like, oh yeah, cool. Like any additional money over the $750,000 we're happy with. And then obviously that agent gets a huge bump in their commissions. And then it ends up selling for, $900,000 and they get $75,000, which is how they can increase their commissions pretty quickly.
James is with us and he is in Melbourne. He's a buyer's agent. We've got more to talk around this coming up next.
Stay ahead of the competition with the latest news, insights and data analysis on the Property Podcast that keeps you informed. We don't just report on real estate news, we take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate.
And it is a Real Estate Monday. We are talking about the reaction across the industry, which has been mixed, but there's a clear takeaway with regard to strong sales performance doesn't protect anyone from scrutiny, and New South Wales Fair Trading have certainly come down hard here. Compliance, transparency and ethical behaviour let's remember they are becoming just as important as results in today's real estate environment. How has your year been there, James? Because we started off in a completely different place after Christmas, New Year. Now we've got one man almost burning the house down, as I said on Saturday. What's been going on from your corner, your space?
It has certainly changed. So as you pointed out, it's a different world that we're in compared to, the 1st of January coming into the new year. So a couple of rate rises and a whole lot of sentiment change, right? So wars, fuel prices, inflation, everything goes on, right? I would say the markets are in at different speeds. So that sub 1 million market is still moving forward. People are still transacting, but there's definitely some heat out of the market. Auction rates are well down. That higher end of the market, so $1.5 million plus, $2 million plus, there's some real opportunity out there, and that's just what we've seen. There's been a huge increase of supply as well, so the demand's just not meeting it. Over the next few weeks, there's probably going to be some properties sitting around on the market that are going to be great opportunities.
Yeah, I mentioned on Saturday on the property show that first home buyers, they are feeling the pressure the most. Young buyers are more sensitive to the rates and the cost of living increases. And man, oh man, this living increase, it just keeps on going. There's no sort of let up. There's no breathing room in your living costs. And it is making these younger first home buyers much more hesitant to commit. We had an email that came through from Eve in Brisbane. She was set to buy this year. She's now looking at going and buying next year. And her parents, interestingly enough, as I mentioned on Saturday, they've gone along with just sort of delaying it because we don't really know what the backstory is there. They might have to refinance their house to help their daughter. That's a real concern, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. These people that were expecting rates to stay the same and, maybe go down a little bit as well. That's what a lot of the economists were saying at the back end of last year. We can see, a healthy environment, and then all of a sudden we're now expecting, 4 to 5 rate rises in a row. It can be quite off-putting for a first home buyer, and no doubt those that do have the help from mum and dad, and that's what we've seen a lot of, the mum and dads stepping in. It's 50 to 60% of first home buyers are utilising the bank of mum and dad. And that's probably going to continue as that ability just keeps getting further away for someone to do it. Queensland in particular, they just came out this week with a 2% deposit scheme. So I think it's 500 people that they're willing to help. And it's a 2% deposit scheme. It's an equity split scheme. So they'll give up some of the equity, obviously, in their state budget to help you purchase a home.
Gee, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? 50% of mum and dads are putting in the money to help children, even with the 5% guarantee. Now we're down to just over 2%, as you say. All right, James, we'll wrap it up there. Plenty of things to take away. Enjoy your Monday, and thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
From first-time home buyers to seasoned investors to breaking property news, discover the stories behind the real estate.
Certainly there's been plenty of unexpected things happen, but we were experiencing high inflation. So hopefully those first home buyers were prepared for that. But yes, you're right. If they bought prior to Christmas, they probably bought at the peak of the most recent cycle.
Two things can be true at once, right? Because you've got different things happening in different markets and within the same market. So you can have segments that are running higher, like they're increasing, but in other segments it's flattened off a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, different people have different pressure. So each area and different sections of each area are experiencing different conditions and different pressures. So it does make for a really challenging market for people to predict, but we all need to understand that people need to buy and sell for all kinds of reasons.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.